So this is my April book recs video. April book recommendations video. Ooh, I have hair here. If you haven't watched my previous book recommendations videos, I will link to them in the description. And basically, what I do is I read a bunch of books in a month and then talk about them. I'm trying to read 52 books in 2017. I'm updating that on Goodreads, which I'll also link to in the description if you want to come be my friend on Goodreads. And then at the end of each month, I talk about what I read that month and if they were good or not. That's about it. So I read 4 books in April. The first one, I guess I started it in March, but I finished it in April, is called The Song of Achilles. It's kind of hard to see because it's shiny. It's by Madeline Miller, and it is a historical kind of fiction about Achilles and Patroclus. Patroclus? I think that's how it's pronounced. It's cool. It's from the point of view of Patroclus. So if you don't know the myth of Achilles and Patroclus, basically this Greek demigod kid, Achilles, who fights in the war of the Trojan War, the War of Troy, and he is with his best friend slash cousin slash maybe lover, Patroclus, and there's a bunch of stuff in his myth. You'll have to read the book. So it's from the point of view of Patroclus. It is a love story between Patroclus and Achilles. It's very, very good, very fun. I really like Greek mythology. I really like Achilles and Patroclus, and I really like gay romances. So there was a lot of good stuff in here. It was really cool. It was well written. The beginning half, I was kind of worried because there weren't a lot of female characters, and the only female characters there were like kind of presented in a really bad light, but in the second half you meet Briseis, I don't know how you pronounce her name, I think it's Briseis, and she's really great, and I don't know, I just found the second half kind of redeemed my worries in the first half. It was really cool. I would recommend it if you like Greek mythology. It's a good mix of like kind of historical, kind of big words, old-fashioned Greek myths, but like also approachable. Like it is kind of a YA novel. I just thought the tone was really balanced, that it's a teenager's point of view. It's a teenager talking about his life, and also it being ancient Greece and kind of like mythological and fancy. Also there's a very long part where there's Chiron, who's a centaur, and I love centaurs. So cool, good book. Song of Achilles, I would recommend it. The second book I read was not fiction. It's about fiction. It's called Scratch. Can you see that? My lighting is really bad here, but Scratch. It is a collection of essays by different writers. So mostly fiction writers, some non-fiction writers, just successful writers, talking about how they make money as a writer. So as someone who is a writer and is going to university to study writing and wants to make a living writing, this was a very relevant book. It was really good, it was really interesting, I liked a lot of the essays. If you're at all interested in being a writer and making a living as a writer, I would recommend it. It doesn't give you like a roadmap of like how you make money, but it's just sort of like different people talking about money and whether they also have side jobs and whether they really were successful with their books and how hard it is, and just a lot of really good information. I enjoyed it a lot. So Scratch, the editor is Manjula Martin, and the writers are like a bunch of different authors. So collection of essays, very good. The other 2 things I read in April were actually, I reread books that I read when I was younger. The first one is a very short kids book. I read it in one night. It's called Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Sachar? I'm really bad at pronouncing names in case you couldn't tell from this video. It's very short. It's very much a kid's book. It's like middle grade kind of book. I read it when I was like a lot younger, like when I was the age that this was aimed at, and I loved it. And then my mom and brother came to visit and they bought it for me at like a thrift store, and they were like, oh, like it'll bring back nostalgic memories, and I reread it and it is still so fun. Like it's very much a kid's book, but it is so, like, I don't know, I love the sense of humor in this book. It's very weird, funny. It's essentially about a school that instead of having 30 classrooms all on one floor, got built like sideways, so it's 30 stories, each with one classroom on them, and it's like the stories about the kids in this class who are on the 30th story, and everything is super surreal and super weird, and I feel like this is where, like, these kinds of books is where, like, a lot of my humor came from, because reading these as a kid really shaped me as someone who likes really surreal, weird stuff. It's like Welcome to Night Vale for children. There was also a cartoon based on this that I watched as a kid. The cartoon was good, but the cartoon wasn't nearly as surreal as the book. Like, the book is just wild. I love it. So I reread that in one night. If you're looking for something kind of funny and weird and you like reading kids' books, Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Sachar. Very good. Last one we passed. The other one I read, which is also one I read when I was younger, is not quite as much a kid's book. It's for like teenagers. It's called Lucky Stars by Lucy Frank. Again, the lighting is terrible for showing you the cover, but here it is. This was one of my favorite books when I was like in middle school. I read it, like I don't reread books very often, like I tend to read something once and if it's really good, cool, I read it, now I'm gonna read something else, but this book I've probably read like 10 times, which is a lot for me. I love it, I don't know why. It's just about these 3 kids in New York who find a pet duck and also sing in their school choir. It's very hard to explain. It's really more about their lives. Like, these kids are living like really difficult lives. Like the main girl, Kira, goes to New York to visit her dad, who is not doing well financially, is singing in the subway, has an ex-wife who may or may not be on drugs, and she comes and lives with him, and then she meets these 2 boys, Jake and Eugene. Jake has a really bad stutter and really like struggles with the fact that he feels like he can't talk and express himself, and then they find a duck, and then they join a choir, and it's really just about like these 3 kids, their friendship and their lives and everything, and there's just something about this book and the way it's written and the way the characters are presented that I love it so much. Super, super good. Lucky Stars by Lucy Frank. I've read a lot of Lucy Frank's other books and I've enjoyed them as well, but this one is like, probably if I had to pick my favorite book of all time, it would be this book. I don't even know why. I just really love it. So that was the 4th book I read. The 4 books I read in April were Song of Achilles, Scratch, Sideways Stories from Wayside School, and Lucky Stars. Can you see them? Yeah, those ones. They're all really good. I would suggest all of them. They're pretty varied. They're all quite different, but they're all good. And if you're interested in any of them, I would suggest going for it. I'm also keeping track of how many books I've read in the year out of 52. So now I am at 13 out of 52. I'm still a little bit behind. In order to get to 52, I should probably be at like 16 books now. But it's summer now. Classes are over, so I should have more time to read. So hopefully that will go up. So stick around for my May, I was like, what month comes next? My May video to see how much further I get on my goal of getting to 52. So like I said, I will link to my other book recommendation videos in the description, and I will link to my Goodreads, and you can check that out if you want, and comment down below. Have you read any of these books, or will you read them now because I suggested them? I hope so, because they're all really good. You can also like this video and subscribe. I make these book recommendation videos at the end of each month, and I also make a lot of videos about things like Homestuck and anime and video games and other things that I enjoy. So thank you for watching. Bye!